Assembly proclaimed the 24th January as International Education Day to celebrate the role of education for peace and development. Let's take a look at the story. Education is a human right. Indeed, the right to education is enshrined in Article 26 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which requires that elementary education be free and compulsory. What is at stake in the celebration of these days is a few figures. Today, 258 million children and young people are still out of school. 617 million children and adolescents can't read or do basic maths. Less than 40% of girls in sub-Saharan Africa complete lower secondary education. And some 4 million refugee children and young people are not in school. The right to education is being denied, and this is unacceptable. Without inclusive and equitable quality education and lifelong opportunities for all, countries will fail to achieve gender equality and break the cycle of poverty that leaves millions of children, youth, and adults behind. We stay in education, but this time in Gabon, following the General Assembly this January 22nd, the CONACYT/SENA coalition, which has been on strike since the start of the school year 2021-2022, has decided to put its movement on hold for 2 months. More details with Maria Batista Bina.
Following an agreement reached on January 21st between the Ministry of National Education and trade unionists on strike since the start of the 2021-2022 school year, the CONACYT/SENA coalition, which had begun the strike, decided to call it off on January 22nd. Faced with the position of the government, which has continued to brandish the threat, putting several teachers under cash voucher since November 2021, the unionists have decided to suspend the movement to allow the restoration of salaries. As a result, the teachers obtained the signature of the order on the establishment of a bipartite commission to examine their point of demand. The commission work is expected to begin on January 25, 2022, where the commission will clearly identify the status of recruitment, integration, reclassification, and tenures of teachers. The government has also promised to organize internal and external competition at the NS and ENI before the end of this school year, and resources will already be mobilized. By the 24th of January, students should have received all of their teachers back.
From education to economy, the Gabonese authorities have expressed their desire to digitalize the means of payment in shops, and it seems like things are taking shape. According to the BEAC report on electronic money payment services in the CEMAC in 2020, Gabon will dominate the CEMAC zone in terms of electronic payment. More details with Jean-Cyril Ondomungue.
An electronic payment is a computerized system that allows for the instant transfer of funds from one bank account to another. If electronic money transactions have exceeded 2,062 billion CFA francs in Gabon in 2022, it's not very surprising. The country has a number of advantages in the field of digital payments, notably a very good penetration of mobile phones and mobile money, a quality digital infrastructure, and dynamic economic players. According to the BEAC report on electronic money payment services in the CEMAC in 2020, in 2019, these transactions were 997 billion CFA francs and 1,536 billion CFA francs in 2018. In 5 years, the volume of e-money transactions have increased by 346%. In the rectifying finance law for 2020, the government has taken several measures to encourage electronic payments. For example, it is now required that transactions of more than 5 million CFA francs and tax payments of more than 2 million CFA francs be made by bank transfer, cashier's check, or electronic wallet.
Also, the construction of the Trans-Gabonese Economic Route 2, which is scheduled to be completed by 2023, is progressing at a rate that pleases the Minister of Public Roads, who visited the site this week. Maria Batista Bina for the hints.
More than a year after the Trans-Gabonese construction project began, the Minister of Public Works considers the progress to be satisfactory. The work on the Trans-Gabonese project materialization is still going on 16 months after it was launched. According to the contract signed between the Gabonese government and the Société Autoritaire du Gabon and Meridiam, the project progress is deemed to be satisfactory with more than 800 kilometers of infrastructure expected to be delivered by 2023. Léon Armel Balondi has also ensured that all construction standards relating to a project like the Trans-Gabonese, presented one of the most important of Ali Bongo's second term, are respected.
Brief and images, at least 50 people are confirmed dead in a boat accident on the Congo River in the northwest of the Democratic Republic of Congo. While the casualties may be greater as the search and salvage are still going on, the boat carrying about 600 people capsized and sank near Mbandaka, capital of the Equator province, on January 16th. The city's river commissioner, Kanpiten Boyo, said some locals are grieving the loss of their loved ones in the tragic incident. Now let's listen to them. We are very sad about the death of our sister. She was the last born in our family. She left her home in Mbandaka to look for money to feed her children. We are shocked to learn that she died in the boat called Wera.
My daughter had a very special place in my heart. She was very hardworking. She always struggled to ensure that we get food and other necessities. A death is a big blow to us. I don't have much more to add.
On the same note, at least 7 people were killed and hundreds injured when a fire set off explosions at a popular nightclub in Cameroon's capital, Yaoundé, this Sunday, 23rd January at 2 a.m. Some members of government were present to see the damages, and an official statement was released. Let's watch. A government statement said the fire erupted at the Leaves nightclub in the Bastos neighborhood. It added that in addition to the deaths, some people were injured and taken to the hospital. According to workers, it was a short circuit that customers initially thought was a fireworks show. The explosions went off once the blaze spread to a place where cooking gas was being stored, causing panic. The tragedy came as the Central African country hosted the month-long African Football Cup of Nations tournament. Thousands of players, fans, and match officials from across the continent have made their way to the country for this competition. The government said investigations were continuing to determine the names and nationalities of the different victims. In a statement, Cameroonian President Paul Biya called for calm and assured players and fans of their safety. Remember that the championship, featuring teams from 24 countries, originally was scheduled for 2021 but was postponed because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Final notes, which takes us to sports. As announced in the headlines, Francis Ganou, a former Cameroonian migrant homeless in Paris 10 years ago, is once again crowned the strongest man in the world. Facing Frenchman Cyril Ngan on Saturday in Los Angeles, USA, he retained his MMA heavyweight title. Throwback to this memorable evening with Armel Joebogo and John Cyril Ondomungu.
While Cameroon, a day when there was no match scheduled for the AFCON, and it was Cameroonian Francis Ngannou, 35, world heavyweight champion of the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championship, who defended his world champion title in California against Frenchman Cyril Ngan, 31. Coincidence or not, before the 8th final of the Indomitable Lions, Francis Ngannou, the Lions of the Octagon, remains the king of heavyweights, retaining his belt of world champion UFC after having dominated Cyril Ngan by unanimous decision at the end of 5 rounds, very tough, thus adding a 17th victory to his record for only 3 defeats and inflicting on the Frenchman his first setback in 11 fights. The Predator, as he is called in the USA, was therefore rewarded with a score of 48-47, 48-47, and 49-46. Its power having made the difference against the technique of Cyril Gane, nicknamed the Good Kid. Announced as one of the biggest clashes in the history of the UFC, the most important world league of mixed martial arts, this clash between the two fighters who knew each other well enough back from MMA Factory, located in Paris, was really intense, but Francis Ngannou came finally victorious 10 months only after having seized the world champion belt at the expense of the American Stipe Miocic. At 35, Ngannou has just proved that he remains the best fighter in his category, perhaps a sign for a victory for Cameroon against the Comoros in today's 8 p.m. duel.
It's time to tell you goodbye, but first let's review the main headlines. In Gabon, following a General Assembly on January 22nd, the CONACYT/SENA coalition, which has been on strike since the start of the school year 2021-2022, has decided to put its movement on hold for 2 months. Also, in neighboring Cameroon, Francis Ngannou, a former migrant homeless in Paris 10 years ago, is once again crowned the strongest man in the world after facing Frenchman Cyril Gane on Saturday in Los Angeles, USA. Special thanks to the news director Sonia Angue, and at the sound you had Béranger Loussou. It is equally time to tell you, dear televiewers, that information continues on G24 and our social medias. Subscribe, share and follow. Stay seated because at 8 p.m. local time, Larissa Eman serves you the news in French. Till next time, take care of yourselves, keep practicing barrier gestures against COVID-19, and goodbye.